Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are here in Santa Cruz. I'm riding the all-new Santa Cruz Bullit. This thing is equipped with the new Gen 5 Bosch motor, as you can see down there. This is a big upgrade for them. But the biggest standalone item that this bike is using now, that's a bit off of what Santa Cruz usually does, is the 4-bar linkage system, as you can see here. We all knew this was coming as we saw the Vala come out, pretty much replacing the Heckler with their 4-bar system. It's a little bit weird that Santa Cruz would go and use 4-bar over their traditional VPP system, but they claim that this 4-bar system is going to handle better under braking and just gives it the bike better handling characteristics over that VPP system. Based on the VPP the shock was all down here, which I guess it was a little tight to pack up the shock and the way that they wanted the bike to handle with the VPP system. So they veered off from that on their e-bike lines and are now using 4-bar. So I'm super excited to see how this thing handles. As you guys know, I had the original Santa Cruz Bullit, the 2024. So that one was equipped with the VPP system. So I'm curious to see how this one handles better than that one. And then in terms of parts, a lot of these parts I've actually never used before. So this has got the new Fox Grip X2 damper and the Fox 38 factory. And then we have the all new one that just came out, the Fox X2. This one they redesigned to get rid of the cavitation issues, and I guess it's supposed to perform better. So super excited to try that out. And then in terms of other things, the brakes, I've never actually used these Maven brakes. As you guys can see down there, there's some pretty large calipers. So super excited to see how the braking performance is on those, as I am very used to and love the Hayes Dominion A4s. But other than that, everything else is pretty standard. I've ridden most of the other parts on this bike. So yeah, we're going to go and get a first ride on this thing, and I'm super stoked. Now we're going to get straight into the POV. I'm going to be doing pretty much POV over my first impressions on this bike, and see if I think that this is my next bike. All right, this is going to be a first descent on this thing. Oh yeah, this thing's also the correct size for me, which is super nice. All right, here we go. It's dusty on it. Oh my gosh, almost stuffed it. These 800 mil wide bars though are kind of ridiculous. Not gonna lie. And down this, and the fork doesn't feel the greatest. The shock feels good, but the fork is a little not the greatest right now. Okay, so first impressions so far, bike feels pretty good. The rear end especially, it like people have said, it handles really well under braking. Like I noticed on my old Bullit, I was noticeably worse on when in braking zones. So here it's just way better overall. The fork is a little stiff, and it could be either due to pressure or rebounds too fast or something, but yeah, honestly, that aside, bike's pretty sick. It's like a flowy lap, not the best representation of this bike, but at least it'll show me the kind of the maneuverability of this thing. Just let it eat. Tell you what, eats up those bumps. Woo, two-wheel drift there. Boop. Oh, I almost manual landed it, dude. Boop. Oh, I saw a trail over there. It's got good, it seems to do pretty well in the flat corners. I mean, suspension needs a little setup. Okay, I'm definitely not as quick on this thing. Oh my gosh. Holy crap. I'm definitely sketched out on this thing and super timid. This thing needs some suspension adjustment. Oh. Oh my gosh. It's so stiff. Don't mind me, guys. I'm just trying to survive here. Oh my gosh, yeah, this thing needs a lot of work. Okay. And bounce it a little bit. Down. Yeah, it's still not that much sag. Here, can you hold me again? Do you want me to do the rear? That looks like kind of a lot-ish.
It looked like a lot when he set it up, and he was like, nope, it's supposed to be around 30%.
Yeah, maybe that is fine then. I'm not reducing compression because the lower I go in pressure, the more I want that compression. So if I have time, I might readjust the rear, we'll see. Depending on if I think it needs to be stiffer. Oh yeah, I overshot it. I was like, whoa, I'm not used to that. And down the chute. Okay, Yeah, the bike's feeling way more at home. I think the rear's still a little soft, but not super far off from it. The fork is feeling way better. They had it pumped up to like 105 PSI. So I'll definitely recommend if you're renting a bike from the demo center, it's really worth checking tire pressure and the suspension settings, because I found that it really differs between people. So for me, it was way off. So yeah, no, but other than that, the bike's feeling good. I think I'd say it's definitely riding a little bit better than my old Bullit. Definitely more maneuverable, so yeah, stoked on it. Oh, all right, this is the new entrance to this trail. Oh, that's sick. Oh, no. Holy crap. That was interesting. I'm forgetting where everything is. Here we are. I'm still learning the maneuverability of this bike. Also, suspension's definitely not set up ideally. Yeah, basically the suspension's just not where I want it, but that was a really good lap, I won't lie. That was really fun. There was a couple of oh crap moments, but other than that, it was kind of sick. All right, guys, I'm back from demoing the all-new Santa Cruz Bullit, and I kind of wanted to share my thoughts and experience with the bike. Before I share my experience, I wanted to point out that the suspension was not set up for me correctly. When I talked to the Santa Cruz representative after I returned the bike, mentioning that the bike felt really stiff, and mentioning also how much PSI was in the shock and the fork, he said that the suspension was like 30 PSI over what it really should have been for my weight. So I'm going to try to work around the stiff suspension and kind of focus in on the frame, as the suspension can just be adjusted and it'll feel good. So I'm going to try to narrow it down to just the frame kinematics. Okay, so talking about my thoughts on the bike. So first of all, something that really stood out to me was how much better this bike does under braking compared to the old 2024 Santa Cruz Bullit. So for those of you that don't know, I owned a 2024 Santa Cruz Bullit for a little bit. Before realizing that the frame size was just too big. I sized up, that was a mistake. But besides that, I was able to really get to feel what the bike felt like and kind of compare and contrast the new Bullit versus the old Bullit. Yeah, one of the key things that really stood out to me was under braking. The bike tracked so much better. The way that I would explain it is that the rear of the old Bullit was really skittery and felt a little out of control in the rear, which can be fun, but I'm more of one of those guys that if I would prefer it to track better than be all skittery. And the new Bullit really tracks and eats into the ground a lot more than the old Bullit did. I also felt on the bike was how much more playful and maneuverable this bike was. Obviously, part of it's going to be that I was riding a medium on the new Bullit versus a large on the old Bullit. That's already going to make a huge difference. But the suspension just felt way less dead and more lively and easy to move around the bike. Before, I felt like it was hard to get the bike off the ground. Now I feel like I can get the bike off the ground when I want to, but it really tracks well when you want it to track well. So I took it on multiple different trails. I took it on trails that were more point and shoot, trails with hard hits, trails with more maneuverable, you know, like hopping up on the banks, opening up corners, you know, stuff like that. And the bike honestly handled pretty well. Obviously, it's not going to handle as well as maybe a Vala on some of those more maneuverable hits where you really want to place the bike where you really want it. They're obviously This bike's a big, all beefy enduro bike. It's never going to be quite like that, but it really was an improvement over the old Bullit, which I had a hard time getting off the ground, period. I think the suspension design, layout design with the new 4-bar is a lot more active and lively than the VPP system on the old Bullit. And so I was super stoked about that, because that was one of the key reasons I even sold the old Bullit, was because of how dead it felt. It felt very planted, do not get me wrong. But this new one feels just as planted while being more lively and also handling under braking traction better. Okay, now we're going to talk numbers. The chainstay length was shortened just a little bit. I think it's a 443. I'll fact check it and put a correction on the screen if I did get that wrong. And then the head tube angle, I'm pretty sure is the same as the old Bullit. Again, I'll put the two numbers up on the screen here. But talking chainstay is pretty important on e-bikes, as it obviously makes the bike more stable in the downhills, but it also makes it more stable on the uphills. With e-bikes, obviously a common issue is looping out when you're in that higher like turbo setting or EMTB plus mode. Looping out could be an issue with steeper terrain. With the longer chainstay, it keeps the front end down, which is going to really help with the climbing of that bike. Okay, now talking the heart of the bike, the motor, the new Gen 5 Bosch motor. I was incredibly impressed with this motor. Obviously, e-bikes, you just want to go up and you want to go down. But the quieter the bike, the more fun it is on the downhill, at least in my experience. The motor is way quieter on the downhill. There's almost zero rattle on the downhill. And they also got the noise down even on the uphill. That wasn't a big issue for me. I'm not... That's a very consistent noise, and it's almost like the swooshing of the suspension. I don't mind the swooshing of the suspension, but I mind creaks. I was riding a Shimano system before, obviously on the old Bullit. That's what it was equipped with. But coming to this new one, the Gen 5, I really like the Gen 5, or Bosch in general. It's a little bit more aggressive in terms of how it gets the power on. The biggest thing that stood out to me with the motor though, was that you don't have to spin so fast. With the Shimano, I noticed I had to spin quite fast to get the motor to actually give power. I felt like I could torque a little bit more on this motor and it gives me good power. So I was pleasantly surprised with that. And then obviously the downhill, I'm sure you heard in the POV, it is dead silent. I'm super stoked on that. I ended up obviously only having this bike for so long. They only let you have it for 4 hours, not including the drive time. So I ended up having to use a higher power setting. Otherwise I wouldn't have killed the battery in time. So I was in blue, I would say 55% of the time. I was in purple, which is EMTB plus. That one I was in about probably 25% of the time. And then whatever else is left over, I was in turbo. So I kind of got to feel all of them. I did try eco too, but not for very long, as I obviously needed to kill the battery before I returned it. Yeah, I was able to kill the battery. I forgot how big the ride was, but I'll put a Strava ride up on the screen showing the ride stats. But honestly, this bike felt like, or this system seemed like it had a pretty efficient powertrain, more so than the Gen 4, which I don't have that much experience with, but my dad has an e-bike that has the Gen 4 race motor in it. Seems like it's more efficient overall. And it even has a slightly, this bike even has a slightly smaller battery at 600 Wh versus 625. But that's enough about the drive system. I do want to touch a little bit on the components. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the brakes and the suspension were the two key things that I had never tried before. So with the Fox stuff, obviously, I don't really want to say too much about it, because obviously it felt harsh due to the suspension being pumped up too much. The Santa Cruz representative, though, was mentioning that the new Grip X2 damper in the fork apparently is just, they all had a hard time getting it where they really wanted it. Obviously, my suspension was set up wrong, so I can't really speak for this, but he mentioned that it was just kind of harsh and they could never really get it to where they wanted it. But with the Fox X2, I was pleasantly surprised with that thing. It gave coil-like feel while still being an air shock. It gave that nice ramp up at the end while giving a pretty supple ride off the top. Obviously, again, it was stiff, but it felt pretty good, and the suspension did handle that pretty well, and I think it pairs really well with the bike. And then the brakes, I'm going to be honest here, the Mavens are overrated. Some people mention that they are the most powerful brakes on the market. They're like going to kill somebody because they're so powerful. And honestly, I didn't feel that at all. In fact, I was getting arm pump. I think a lot of that was due to the stiff suspension, but they weren't that impressive. I still like my Haste Dominions more. I like that light lever pull. And I'm sure a lot of it is also that the bars were freaking 800 millimeters wide. Like, that is just ridiculously wide, and I think that 800 mil wide bars are almost going to be too wide for anybody. It'd be nice if Santa Cruz offered something where you could at least do 760s, or I mean 780s. It's just the 800s are throwing me off like a lot. But that aside, the bike handled really well. I feel like if I got everything to where I wanted it, that bike could absolutely rip. That about wraps it up. That's about all I have to say about the bike. And you guys might be asking, am I going to buy this bike? I'm not 100% sure yet. This bike wasn't screaming to me, but honestly, it felt like a very good bike, and I would be happy if I went and bought it right now. I'm going to plan on trying the Vala out in probably the next couple weeks, so if you guys are at all interested in seeing some sort of comparison or a first impressions on the Vala, be sure to smash that subscribe button down below, because I will be demoing that Vala before I make a final decision on which e-bike I'm going to buy. And if you guys would like to just see more mountain bike content, again, hit that subscribe button down below. And if you guys found this video useful, please smash that like button down below. And if you guys would like to get these videos early, check me out on Patreon. I'll leave a link down below. You get some pretty sweet perks, such as getting my videos early, Patreon exclusives, direct messages, and I'm trying to kind of build a community over there. So if you guys are interested, I'll leave a link down in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.